If it gets, I mean, and I understand the fact that they're out in the public, people are gonna come and dump stuff in there. So what we can do is we can have them with lock bars, and so they can have them open during the day, and at night, they can throw the bars back there. So when we come to dump them, our truck has a magnetic tool on it, so when it catches up to the front of that front load container, it'll drop the bar. We don't need a key to it, we don't need anything, and when it goes back down, the lock bar will go back up.
You don't think that's a conversation you should have prior to?
Oh, we've talked to them.
Instead of waiting until it actually becomes a problem? Because
Well, no, we've talked to them about it, and basically all we're trying to do, Councilman Randall, is keep the price the same and the tonnage the same.
Right, right. So, Mr. Mayor, I guess my question is, he said they build us, do we build
Correct.
Parkside?
Yes, sir.
No, we build the individual water residents, and when going through there, just seeing how horrific the trash situation was, I got with Mr. Aguilar with Republic and asked about the dumpsters and did the math, and basically what we bill equates, as he said, less than $40 difference between the dumpsters and the trash containers. And if that's not adequate, then we'll deal with it later. But right now, based on that situation and our involvement, we are converting to dumpsters because it's just a much better thing to do than what's going on out there now, because as soon as the trash cans fill, they overflow, the wind blows, nobody wants to pick it up. So we're making that conversion when?
Hopefully by the end of the month. So we had a little bit of changes up at my Brenham office where we run this item. The gentleman who was running it had kind of just, some of the last 2 years of retiring, so kind of got a little stale, so we put somebody else up there and we're gonna get moving on it.
Yes.
My question was just gonna be, is that gonna be a standard that we're gonna set for other apartment complexes? Like if you look at, I guess the extended stay, go over there and bunch of trash over there in the south over there, and then is that gonna be a standard that we set as far as?
Yes,
Yes.
again, the health and safety situations, or just the trash, and I forgot
So
the
we're gonna,
words for that council. It's
strategically
trash.
come all around the complex. I mean, not everyone's gonna have one where they're gonna walk out the door and it's gonna be right in front of them. They may have to walk a few feet to get to them, but out of the 10 that we're putting out there, we're gonna put them strategically so where the people can get to them easily.
And we're working with the AM market, because that was a situation, I think, did we go to 2 days a week from the one?
Correct.
From the AM market? See, that was a situation there, was continuing to fill up and overflowing. So we went to 2 days and working with the owners, so yes. Citywide, we're doing what we need to do to work with our residents, our businesses, to get the city where it needs to go.
And the only other issue we have out there, council, is the fact that those roads, I know they're privately owned, they're getting horrible. I mean, my trucks are going through there and they're just bottoming out. I mean, it's getting real bad to where, I mean, one day I'm gonna say, hey, I can't even get my truck out of this hole.
Yeah, well, I spoke with Attorney Hayes briefly, and we'd spoken with Attorney Kerwin before that, but just never got around to it. There must be something that the city can enact, because if our first responders, not just our trash disposal, if our first responders can't get through there for safety reasons, and the reason it's a horrific situation, it started with one owner, and then it went into foreclosure or bankruptcy.
All right. I mean, it's becoming almost evident that I mean, what are we talking about? What agenda item is
Well,
this?
Public Works.
He's Public Works?
No.
Well, I brought him up under Public Works.
He's not Public Works. I mean, we need to put an agenda item with Republic Services where you can talk about a strategy for putting in these kind of dumpsters. And yes, if we want to enact something moving forward, dealing with private streets and that kind of stuff, we'll put something on a future agenda. But, I mean, I'm sorry, but you're off in left field a little bit here. We need to rein this back in. I mean, if there's a Public Works guy in this building right now that wants to give a report, I think that we'd be happy to entertain that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Council reports, Councilman Roman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
With all hearts and minds open, I just want to say it's an honor and pleasure to serve in the great city of Prairie, Texas. Just to respond to some comments that I heard that may have not all the way been I think myself nor any councilman voted against a grant for Alta Vista, so I just want that to be in the public record, and so people can pass the correct word. If you look at the minutes that we don't currently have, you will see we didn't vote against the grant going to Alta Vista. We asked for it to be moved to the next meeting so we could have some information, just for clarity. Again, I work with the Boy Scouts Assistant Scoutmaster for the city of Prairie View. We meet on the first and third Wednesday in this building. If you want to come out and help and work with our young men in this community, please do so. We start at 7 o'clock. I'm also the current president of Prairie View Chamber of Commerce, where we are on our way to getting new members. My vice presidents in the office, in the audience, along with members around the board who are here. We're continuing to impact our community, and we'd love for you to come out. We meet on the fourth Thursday of the month at the Prairie View National Alumni Building, so please come out and support us. In the month of September, the Texas Association of African American Chamber of Commerce will be hosting their conference in San Antonio the 27th and 28th. If there's any Prairie View students, Texas Southern University students that are interested in business entrepreneurship, we're paying for registration and lodging at this conference. So please get in contact with somebody who was a part of the Prairie View Chamber of Commerce. I had the opportunity to represent the city at the Texas Leadership Forum in Austin last week, where I had the opportunity to talk about how do we bring efficiency and effectiveness into public, the government space, right? Because people think it's very bureaucratic. And so I received the PowerPoint that was given from the Texas Workforce Commission on rapid process improvement comes to government, and I'll be sending that out to our city secretary so she can disseminate amongst council. I also had the opportunity to meet with Mike Morath, who's the Secretary of Education for TEA, and also had a conversation and a meeting with Senator Glenn Hager. I'm going to be bringing him here to the city of Prairie View in the next 60 days, so please come out. He's going to talk about property taxes, and if the state legislature, which is in January when they meet, if they're going to talk about bringing a property tax cap. So, as you know, Comptroller Hager used to be Senator Hager, and he's from Waller County. And so we'll be bringing them here to the city of Prairie View, so please be on the lookout for that. Again, thank you for allowing me for the opportunity to serve. Those of you who are interested, the NAACP will be having its state conference in McKinney, Texas, the first week in October. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Thank you for allowing me to serve.
Good evening. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'll be brief. I just want to take a second to highlight, if you watched the news on Friday, you saw your local Waller Bulldogs with the high school big game of the week, in which we beat the Brenham Cubs for the first time in 9 years. And so I just want to highlight what our kids are doing in our community. I want to take a second to just encourage everyone to come out during these budget town hall meetings, because that's your opportunity to express the needs of your communities, the needs of your areas, and so we can try to take those things into consideration as we put the budget together. We haven't raised the tax rate in what,
At least
10 years.
At least 10 years.
We have no intention of doing so this time either, but we definitely want to be sure that we're properly allocating the funds to the needs of the city and the needs of the citizens. So come to these hearings, express your concerns, express your feelings towards how we spend your tax dollars, and give us the opportunity to work with you as far as moving the city forward. Thank you.
Councilman Jones.
Hello, world. My report is short. I put a listing of all the events and things, initiatives in which I have going on, such as the Community Watch, the Youth Council. The Beautification Committee will have our first meeting this Thursday. I confirm with Ms. Dickey if it's okay to have the meeting here and what day it's open and available. As well as I had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Yancey Scott from Waller County about interlocal agreement. And we may have talked after the meeting. I came up with the idea to, because the city is 2 times older than I am, so I wanted to hear some of the citizens' comments and concerns upon what streets were initially county streets, so that way we can start the process of moving forward and possibly getting some of those streets brought up to standard. and then put a plan and a proposal going forward for updating our city streets. And so I would ask again, Ms. Nikki, what's the day that's available? And then I'll try to get that word spread around the community, so that way we can have a community gathering before I personally make any decisions upon the beautiful city of Prairie. Once again, I'm always grateful for the opportunity to serve, and thank you guys for allowing me to grow my city here each and every week. Thank you.
And I wanted to let the citizens know, as well as the council, that I will be meeting with Dr. Finley on Thursday. I'm assuming he's coming to the table with a plan for the water bill that we owe the university. And hopefully that meeting will be positive, and it will be an opportunity for us to settle a lifelong bill that we've had for a long time, and everything that is fair for the city as well as the university.
Good evening, everybody. So last meeting, I talked about me and Mr. Glover of Public Works. We rode around the city and looked at some of the drainage issues that we had. So me and Mr. Glover, we plan to create a presentation for council to look at some of the issues that we have, the more prevalent ones. That way we can make good decisions, especially with us being in the budget process, fixing some of these issues. So I was looking at the city's complaint box. Is if you go on to the website, City of Prairie View, you have to go through, I would say not the most user-friendly way to see that, and I want that, as citizens, for us to be able to talk about whether we have issues with city officials, police, or any other entity that we need to help out with. So I'm gonna try to work with Judge Alexander Simmons to try to modify it a little bit and get it to places where citizens can see, so that the citizens' issues can be heard. Also, I know Councilman Randall was talking about the Citizens Advisory Board a couple meetings or last meeting. So I just reach out to you right now saying, let's get together and start sending some dates. So that we can have Citizen Advisory Board. So I also got some documents of how other cities do their Citizen Advisory Board. I think would be great for City Council, and I'll send that to all of y'all so y'all can look over that. And last, I've been working with Prairie Chamber of Commerce. We're planning on having a networking event September 29th. Yeah, September 29th at 12 o'clock. This is a networking mixer where, we can have businesses, whether you own a business or you're interested, come together and kind of highlight some things within the city. That way we can start working together and be in that same room and have the same conversation for us to move the city forward. But once again, it's a pleasure to serve the city of Prairie.
Quick clarification regarding Public Works, Councilor, we may be doing it wrong, but if so, we
You're
can
not
go-
though, I mean, it's really, because
No,
you've got an
no,
item under your report.
Right, no, let me share with you. Our Public Works clerk is paid, and our billing goes through our Public Works utility bills. Now, there may be something that needs to happen, but that is totally under our Public Works thing. Maybe other cities may do it a little differently. So that's why we had.
Well, how about this, we'll work on
Okay.
cleaning that departmental report section up so that it gives adequate notice. That's my biggest concern, is that we're gonna get ourselves in some trouble.
Sure, no, and I agree with that. I'm just saying that's why he wound up there. Because if I were set up under the $350,000 grant for the sewer upgrades, the award letter has been sent to the contractor that was selected 2 weeks ago. So we're hoping that work rolls out somewhere in the next couple of weeks according to them. But now that they know they have the contract, they'll be giving us a timeline and that sort of thing. We'll report that to the public and the council as soon as we get that from them. The $723,000 hazard mitigation grant, we're going after that. We're applying for those FEMA funds for their federal disaster recovery program. And again, we'll keep you apprised of that. What I'd like to do at this point is we have 3 proposals for application and administrative services. And if 3 council members want to take one now and then bring it back for others to review, But this is on the grant that we're applying for. We need someone to do the application, and that's what this is for. Anyone else want to, both of you? Okay, and as y'all bring it back, and I'll have one in the office as well if someone wants to review it. But again, wanted to put that in your hands, so you have that information, so we can go after that FEMA money. Sometime this week, before week's end, should be fine. And, you know, it's not like a rush, but I do want to give you an opportunity to go through it. And that was the only project applicant that applied, so you have that in front of you. Councilman Rowland.
Just a brief question. So this was for what this is for the grant for the flood mitigation. You said only, we had an RFP, or were they the one moving us through the process of public management? Because we've done work with them before, so what's the, you're saying no one applied based upon the companies here, or what, can you reiterate that?
You have a
Well,
list, I'm sorry, Mayor.
No, go ahead.
You have a list attached to the ad that went out, which gives all of those listed an opportunity to apply. As far as I know, the only one that did was public management. But that list attached to the newspaper article, that's who all got emailed, that we were
So
asking.
these are the companies who solicited,
Correct,
and then they got this notice,
correct,
and the only one we received is this.
correct.
Next item, on the Waller County Transportation Plan, I've been attending those meetings with their mobility plan. And regarding the city of Prairie View, they have listed as key projects that would directly impact us: James Muse Parkway, Owens Road, Cameron Road, which is on the north side of the university where that street and bridge is out, just outside of the city limits, but still impacts us. FM 1098 at Minor Street and FM 1098 at Whitechapel Road. So we are included in the Houston-Galveston Area Council upgrades. And Owens Road from James Muse back toward University Drive is listed in the 0 to 5 year time frame. In other words, it's on the short list. So they have been listing, and we are included. And some of the others may very well be as well, but there's a lot of traffic and improvements going on along that road. So we fought to make sure Owens Road was included, because originally it was not 3 years ago. The Prairie View Cricket Complex, they were set to have what they call a soft opening this last Sunday, yesterday, but because of rain, they postponed that. They let me know roughly a couple of days before. They were just trying to do something to, I guess, test their fields, but immediately, almost immediately, had to cut it off. So there was no time or opportunity to inform, because it was canceled. Councilman Randall?
Are they gonna have parking there?
Yes.
When I drove by, they were like parked down.
Mhm.
Whitechapel Road.
Yes, on the card and presentation they came, it shows the parking. It's not complete. That's why this is just maybe a practice to try to get started, check out the field, something along those lines. Councilman Rowland?
Do you have a time? So they already was supposed to play a game yesterday, and the weather was bad. Do they have an intent on when they're gonna put the parking in? And then the question I asked at the last meeting, do they have a sewer, do they have a well system? And you said you didn't know. Is there someone who's supposed to check? Because in the city limits, they're not supposed to be using well system. They should be using city infrastructure. And so I want to be very clear. So 5 months from now, we don't find out that they're on a well. And so I'm asking for you to ask Public Works to do an investigation to find out if there is a well in the city limits of Prairie.
I knew that they had to connect, and as I shared with you when you asked, on that 86 acres, I have no idea if there's an existing well. So I can't answer that, because it's 86 acres, it's been farmed and horses, so I don't know what's on there.
Mayor, may I just,
Yes.
if they're hooked up to utilities, that's what we require. Their relationship with an existing well is a relationship with the state, and really not with us. And their ability to operate, I'm just telling you. So, I mean, even if they had an existing well there, as long as they're hooked up to our utility systems, they still may be able to enjoy the private well for certain purposes.
Right, my only question was, are they connected to our services, which is what.
So it's really not a well question, it's are they hooked up to city water?
And they were, because there was, I remember specifically, there was a call when some work was being done, and I sent Glover and Mr. Silver out to that. But we can certainly revisit that, and I'll double check that, but yeah, I do recall, because of something they were looking to do, they needed water, and did get hooked up to the city. The Waller County Realtors Association, I was a guest speaker just to give them city updates. There, more and more people are getting excited about what's going on in the city of Prairie, and that's a blessing. San Bernard Electric, something was brought to my attention where we need to investigate our rates with them versus what other entities are charging. I don't know if we're that much higher because we're in a co-op, but again, putting it on here to just do as I'm required, keep council informed of major things that could affect us all, and I'll bring back the information once I obtain it. The Republic Waste, you heard what we're planning on doing there with Brookside. The first responders, there's a new federal AT&T communications program, and the city is opting to go with that because the first responder program came from the 9/11 Commission when so many first responders and folks who needed to lost communications completely. It was in front of Governor Greg Abbott, and he was reviewing it for a few weeks, considering it, and then Hurricane Harvey hit, and everybody lost communication. What the first responder program will simply do is allow those connected to it to rise to the top so we don't lose communications while we're trying to, say, take care of the public. So definitely law enforcement, there's an opportunity for any of our council, certain committees, we're welcoming them because our regular volunteers, we want you to be able to communicate with us and us with you as well. So again, just the general basic information, I'll bring back the brochures and literature so everyone can read that in the audience as well as council, but just wanted to stick it on until I get that literature. But we had a couple of presentations, and we'll be getting that information to you, but simply put, it will help guarantee that those folks who you need to be in touch, law enforcement, firefighters, whatever other officials or key volunteers, will be able to communicate so that we don't go through what we went through last time with Harvey or anything else. Again, just letting council know it's coming so that you can be aware of it. Item 6, discuss the proposed top property tax rate for 2018. Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
Now this is what we can do in spite of the change in the newspaper posting, right? Okay, go ahead.
This is just, well, the last council meeting, council voted and approved that we retain the current tax rate, which is .73049 per $100,000 valuation. And currently we have 2 public hearings, which by state law, already set for tonight, we set for the 17th and 20th. That's about all we got to say.
That's September 20th, September 17th to 20th, right?
Right.
Okay, the public hearing.
What was the rate again, JJ?
.73049. What that means is if you have 100,000, if your property is valued at $100,000, your tax bill would be $730.
All right, JJ, so the goal for us, because we know that the burden of financing the city is primarily on the backs of the taxpayers.
Yes.
So the goal from day one has been how do we get to a point to where we have created enough revenue to where we can start lowering the tax rate. And for the last, I guess, at least 6 years since I've been up here, we've had a plan in place to where we could eventually get to that point. So my question would be, what type of revenue does the city have to make to where we can start discussing actually lowering the tax rate?
We need to receive substantial revenue increases. We had a slight increase this year
Right.
from retail establishments. was you want to see an increase in other revenue sources. To give you an example, the city of Stafford, their property tax rate is 0 because of the amount of retail sales taxes that they receive.
Right.
It's a situation where that the city needs doesn't exceed what the other taxes provide for them.
Do you have a figure? Because I think Councilman Randall asked for a figure. Can you maybe take a look, play with some numbers and bring us back one?
Figure pertaining to what?
Figure on what it would take if we wanted to lower the tax rate, say,
Well, it's
$100,000.
it's twofold. It's twofold. It's not just
This is what
Go
I
ahead, go ahead.
this is what I prefer you to do. Can you create a report that shows the plan where we were 6 years ago to where we are today as far as getting to that point?
Okay.
I'm sure it's gonna be hard to create a figure of the exact dollar amount, but I would like to see where we progress as far as our revenue towards our expenditures to the point to where we are progressing in the right direction to eventually get to that point to where we can be more dependent on the sales tax and other.
what has taken place. One of the reasons why you're able to maintain your city operations and keep the same property tax rate is because valuations have increased, and we projected about 10%. So when we did the bond sale, one of the attributes or characteristics that helped us with the bond sale, because they look at your property tax rates because that's a source of funding the bonds, was that the city would have basically a 10% increase in valuation, and we've had that the past 3 years. So that's how we've been able to maintain where we are.
Councilman Rowland?
In what Councilman Randall was talking about, we've been intentional every year going through this process to make sure we don't increase taxes, with the thought that one day we'll be able to reduce taxes. Our sales tax have grown with new businesses opening, home games being in Prairie, Dollar General, and then you have property taxes with established things coming on as far as homes and apartments. The question is that, is there ever, are we gonna forever be chasing the rabbit, right? Because we're gonna have to continuously make infrastructure updates and invest in infrastructure, but unless we have a solidified plan, both on like what we're gonna do with streets and all these other things that go into how much we have to spend, that's where the connection comes in. I know some will believe that, we hadn't had any plans before. How do we continue, how do we use this current budget cycle? We've already set the rate to where we're not gonna increase. But how do we now be able to craft or generate a plan to answer our question, which we're asking you on the financial piece, but to tangible goals that the mayor will help us to lead, that we can come back and show citizens, we said we're gonna do this, this is our plan, and here's the financials, sales tax and property tax that equate to that. How do we do that in our current budget cycle? Because we've already solved the problem. The problem is for the citizens is that we're not going up on property taxes. But we have now to have to figure out a solution on how do we not just plan for next year, but we set a plan for the next 5 years and the next 10 years that we can mitigate this.
Okay. Councilman Jones?
I think that's more of a question that's pointed towards us, because in a sense of the direction in which we want to go in. So, I don't think that's a decision which we can make right now, because we don't have a street plan put together.
Let me interject, because the chief financial officer, I believe is his title. That is an aspect of what you're talking about. It is. What you're talking about is not really a tax rate discussion, it's just a budgetary discussion.
Right.
Because you have to project expenditures, increases in the costs of everything that we deal with, as well as the stuff you're talking about, which is the growth and absorbing infrastructure costs and things that come with growing, fire, police, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
There are companies out there that specialize in doing that kind of thing. So you might want to start that discussion and put it on a next agenda to talk about how do we come up with it's part of a comprehensive plan. And it's important, but it is a process, a multi-year process to get to something that has some merit and some meaning. Otherwise, you're paying some consultant like me to put paper together. It's worthless. So, anyways, just food for thought, but I think that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, to answer our question, we can further discuss that in the budget workshop.
All right, thank you, Mr.
So,
Johnson.
the more of my question was just so I can get, if I can get that information, or if we can get that information, I didn't intend for us to, you know.
No, and just to clarify, so he understands,
Yeah, right.
and so I understand a little better, you're just, from the finance side of things, it's really hard, I tell you, it's gonna be really difficult for him to project how much stuff's gonna cost 5 years from now, and anticipate growth and the additional expenses associated with growing the city, public works, fire, police, all that stuff. It's a challenging, I think that there might be some merit though in providing, okay, based on keeping the current fiscal year and growth trends.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I asked for a report that dates back the last 6 years to where we are today, as far as how we've grown as a.
Okay, I think that's, I mean,
That's
We
what
can
I-
show you that.
yes, I think that's feasible.
I can show you from 1994.
Let's go 6 years. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay, item 7, discuss, consider, and take action to create a link on the website to search for the building permit requirements. Councilman Randall?
Okay, this item just came from a conversation I had with the citizen who discussed how he was interested in doing some development in the city of Prairie, but he couldn't locate any of the information online. So this was just to talk about how we can make sure that any information that outside developers and inside developers need to come into the city to do business, and they can walk into the door with all the information in hand instead of having to come to the city to get it, to where we can provide a link or something on the website. It's really important.
Councilman Johnson?
Randall, could we table this until we all agree upon the building permit policy? Because I think that's an issue in which we are right now, and we haven't came to agreement upon building permits.
But this item is just saying that we need the actual link.
Yeah, Mayor, I see these as two wholly separate
The
issues.
policy is something, we can make the policy.
Just putting it on there, and then y'all are always going to massage and amend what is available to the citizens, so.
Yeah, one of the things that, as you brought this up, in talking with, we've got a third-party vendor who does the inspections, and we're trying to see how to link individuals to that, because that determines the permit fee. So, I certainly understand, but we don't have the paper anymore, and it's not coming from the city.
It's an IT question.
Passing through. Yeah, that's what we're working on. It just
You'll have
came
somebody
up
that
2
that
weeks
you're
ago.
working with to
Yeah.
resolve that?
Yeah, so we'll check with them, but that's what we were trying to figure out.
There's
Because
a,
of their fee.
might call a couple other cities, most of the cities.
You know, can that be the fee?
Just see who they get.
Right, but at least the process should be available online. It says, hey, if you wanted to come to the city of Prairie and develop, you have to go through steps A through whatever in order to do so. I mean, we can attach a fee schedule or whatever later, but they at least need general information to get the